One of the main organizations that the AB Philippines trip works with this year is GABRIELA. It's a militant women's organization that works with a variety of issues here in the Philippines. One of its main goals is to organize and mobilize women to create leaders who will bring the people together and try to enact social and structural change to free its people from oppression. If you were to ask me personally, what is it that GABRIELA actually does, I wouldn't be able to tell you because they do so many things, and that's reflected in the itinerary that they managed to put together for us. On our first day here in the Philippines, they gave us an orientation where they gave us a boatload of information, which was, to be honest, a bit overwhelming even though I'm from here. And the next day, they brought us to KMU, Kilusang Mayo Uno, which is an organization that works with workers' rights. And with them, we visited 2 strike areas.
So the government associates KMU with the Communist Party, which makes it lose a lot of the support it could have. And so it was really, really interesting. They brought to light a lot of issues about globalization and neoliberal policies, and how that affects the Philippines, especially with pacts such as the recent Pact of EDCA, the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement between the U.S. and the Philippines, which basically increases the number of bases the U.S. has in the Philippines. The reason behind it was that the U.S. claims that it's going to help the Philippines protect itself from China through disputes over islands, but really it's just another way for the U.S. to keep control over the Philippines.
GABRIELA brought us to one of their chapters in Tondo, in Manila, which is an urban queer community, and we got to meet with their organizers there, their leaders, and they gave us an ocular visit of the community, which was very, very impactful, to say the least, to see their environments and how horrible and out of shape the tenements are.
So we just got back from Hacienda Luisita, which is in Tarlac, which is located in Central Luzon on the northern tip of the Filipino Islands. We met with a community there who are currently in a land dispute with very powerful landowners, and the issue is the landowners were supposed to give the farmers 6,000 acres as mandated by the Supreme Court of the Philippines. What ended up happening is they gave 4,000 of the hectares of land to the farmers, and it wasn't even the correct land. So in the past 7 years, there have been protests. Many people have been killed. There have been homes that have been destroyed. Crops have been set on fire. A lot of the land has been walled off from the people, even though it's supposed to be their land. So that's where they're at right now.
We met with an organization named Ambalan, which aims to organize the farmers together and to help bring them together to do community farming.
And they took us to a general assembly where they talked to us and the rest of the community about various issues going on, about land rights and about their program of collective farming. And it was really interesting to talk to a lot of the farmers because we learned a lot about land rights before going with GABRIELA, but it's a lot different to see the issues right in front of us and to see people who are struggling with it and to be able to talk with them was a lot more impacting and significant to us, and it was really awesome to see.
They were so extremely friendly. They we basically have a family out there now, and these people, they first told us their issue, but then they also shared meals with us. They invited us into their homes for the night, and then at 5 a.m. after the roosters woke us up, they woke us up. We walked out into the farm. We picked mango seeds, so for about an hour we were out there. It was hot, sweaty, humid, but they were like laughing and cheering us on, and it was incredibly overwhelming, exhausting, but very fulfilling.
When we got back to Manila, we went straight to our orientation with Karapatan, which is a human rights organization here in the Philippines, to prepare us for our visit the next day to a women's correctional facility in Mandaluyong to visit 3 female political prisoners. So the next day, we went to the correctional facility and we met with Nanay Moreta, who is a woman who has been charged with murder over land disputes of a landlord trying to gain her land to turn into a resort, despite her family having settled there for years. And 2 other female political prisoners who were charged with rebellion, who are actually members of the NPA. And the way that Gabriela organized this entire itinerary for us, despite our focus in human trafficking, modern slavery, and land rights, I feel that Gabriela's itinerary aimed more on giving us the context in which all of these issues occurred. They want to show us such a variety of issues and how they interplay and why modern slavery happens so much here in the Philippines. They showed us issues of land rights, workers' rights, women's rights throughout all those things, the political structure of the Philippines, and how foreign policy affects the citizens here, poverty too. It's all just been very, very amazing, and even though I grew up here as a Filipino native, they showed me a different side to the country that was both disheartening yet inspiring at the same time, given the people who are so passionately and strongly fighting for the country and to enact change for their fellow men and women.
So the students during the AB Philippines trip, they partnered with the organization CATWA, which stands for the Coalition Against Trafficking in Women, and we worked with the Pacific Asia branch, which is headed by Jean Enriquez. Jean Enriquez is known for her activism not only in the Philippines but worldwide in the fight against the trafficking of women and children, as well as changing, let's say, the minds of men who participate in these activities. And we were privileged enough for the first day in our partnership with CATWA to have a brief orientation on the status of women in the Philippines. And in that orientation, she outlined not only what we had seen through our work with GABRIELA, the ways in which the social structures affect women in general, like poverty, the ways in which laborers are treated. But specifically, we worked with how women who are trafficked, and that's not only prostitution, but it can be the servitude in labor, etc. Jean pointed out to us that women who are trafficked in labor are often women who have been, I think the percentage she quoted to us was about 85%, had previous experience in being sexually abused. So because of that previous experience, that they feel an element of shame, an element of not thinking that they deserve a better life, and that this is an element in which propels these women toward that area of work, which is prostitution. And CATWA aims to give them opportunities that they might be able to see beyond that only avenue.
So yesterday we met with CATWA, and we got to talk to a couple different women who had survived, prostitution and human trafficking, and it was a really intense night. We took a night walk around the red light district in downtown Manila, near the malls and various train stations.
And we toured an area which is, at that time, that night, was patrolled by police. Most of us ended up underneath the bridge because the police were shooing away possible Johns. But as well, what we've learned from Katwa is that these police officers and other officers in authority, that they themselves are also Johns.
It's difficult to even put into words how all of us felt and how it made me feel just being there in that environment, because I can't imagine what it's like to be in that position or to be a child, seeing my mom struggle with that. And I think it's really hard to even think about because, you can see that there's so much pain there, and yet the women there are so strong and so brave. But it was one of the most difficult things I've seen.
Olongapo is a bit far from Manila, so it's out in the provinces. Students were able to see some beautiful countryside on our way to Olongapo. And just a few blocks away was the red light district, these tiny little bars where women who are being trafficked are looking for Johns or doing gimmicks, as they say in Tagalog. And the students were set to stay in a hotel called the Wynn Hotel, which is right in the heart of this red light district. And basically, all of us went into the hotel, up to the rooms, and decided to walk right back outside because these rooms were clearly being rented out by the hour. They were clearly being used by Johns and prostitutes. And the students were able to see, for instance, mattresses that were stained, walls that had claw marks, and, for instance, many of the female students saw themselves in that environment, and it had a really strong effect on them. The idea that they themselves could be stuck in a situation, a very dangerous situation, in a tiny enclosed space, in this hotel where trafficking happens as a matter of course, and to the prospect of spending the night in that hotel was not agreeable to the group. So there was an emergency decision to just return to Manila. But hopefully in future AB trips, there can be an opportunity to work with these women in the organization Buklod.
Being on this trip has been very eye-opening for me. It's just kind of shocking that I live not so far from these places, and it's just such a different reality for some people. And I think this trip has changed a lot of what I think about being Filipino is, and my pride of being a Filipino. It's been a great experience. I've been to places I've never been before, even in my own country, and just seeing a different side of the Philippines than what I'm used to is just an amazing opportunity.